Hello and welcome to another Exeter Rider video. So this week I have another treat for you again because we are reviewing the Royal Enfield Hunter 350. The Hunter first came out in 2022 and is available in a few different colours as well. But in this review I have the red one. So the Hunter essentially is a retro style bike within the small engine capacity of 350cc. It's very affordable, it's a decent daily commuter, and it's a Royal Enfield. And we'll be showing you what it would be like to own, what it would be like to use on the motorway, in town, through traffic, and also doing some twisties as well. So I hope you enjoy the video. The Hunter 350 was in my possession for 2 months, so I really got to know the bike quite well. So I hope you enjoy the video, and let's get right into this.
Riding the bike out on the A roads, it's really nice again. It's typical Royal Enfield. It's almost what they're built for, these bikes, isn't it? It's a fantastic, beautiful riding on these summer days. 5-speed gearbox again. It's got a longer range of power as well. They've tweaked the fueling one way or another to be a bit more compliable, a bit more variable as well. Rather than having the low down torque, it's a little bit more linear, drawn out, and kind of nicer actually in many ways for that reason. You definitely feel like you're getting places on this bike and that you're I think zooming along is the wrong word, but you feel like you're making progress because it is definitely a lot more quicker than the Meteor and the classic 350. I guess part of that is to do with the size of the wheels as well. We're on 17-inch wheels, front and rear on the Hunter, which gives it an element of a little bit more responsive. I believe the rake is different on the front end as well. It turns a bit sharper, it feels much more responsive, it's flicks around ever so quickly. Now riding the bike has an element of excitement as well. It's not a particularly fast bike as such, but again you feel like you can ride this bike pretty hard and you feel like you're getting the most out of that engine. There's some of the other aspects of the bike. Handlebar position is lower down. It's a bike that you sit on this bike. Braking is excellent again on the rear and good on the front. And the exhaust note sounds superb. The suspension is on the back set up nice and tightly, and on the front is much the same actually. It's set up quite tightly again. The seat is wonderfully comfortable again. Not quite to the level of the Meteor. Forgive me if I keep going back to the Meteor, but I still got the Meteor at the moment, and I'm relaying it, kind of comparing it a little bit to that. Brilliant, brilliant everyday bike. Very light and agile. 10 kilograms lighter than the Meteor, for example. The clutch is again very easy to use. It's easy enough to pull. I'll be honest and say that when you're clutching in around the city a lot, it does tend to get quite heavy on your fingers pulling it in and out all the time because it's not adjustable, and the span is relatively large. I think that's one thing I've learnt over the last 6 weeks riding these Enfields, is that they could probably do with adjustable levers. Thank you very much. That's something which could be done. Riding in streets like this, very responsive, really nice. Out into the country lanes, and the same thing again. It's just really, really pleasant as a lane explorer. We still have ABS front and rear. It is independent ABS as well, of course. Dashboard is very clear And as you can see down there, we have the gear indicator, the speed, a fuel gauge, which is pretty accurate, but at the same time it tends to not be able to make up its mind sometimes what it's doing. Whee! Yeah, loads of fun power, as I say. It really is a nippy bike, yes. For the money, again, I'm amazed again. I shouldn't be now. I should know what to expect from Royal Enfield, but it's just the value for money you get out of these bikes. I think this, I will check, I think it's around £3,750, maybe £3,800, which is, again, it is underneath what the Japanese are selling their 125s for. You know, I just can't believe how well they're nailing everything they do, Royal Enfield, in the market. They're just smashing it every single time. Traffic riding on the Hunter. Enough power to get you off the lights in front of any car. That 350 single. Switch gears all in a good place as well. Very natural place. Very, very nimble. It's got quite a shallow rake on this frame compared to the Meteor and the other 350s. So braking's really good as well. So nippy, turns really quickly, handles incredibly well, very predictable at the same time, and fun. It's really, really fun to zip around the traffic. It's a sort of bike that's so nimble that if you wanted to, and it's obviously you've got to pick your times with this, but you can actually undertake a car and overtake, if you see what I mean. If it's really jam-packed and you need to nip down the left-hand side there, then you can. Because of its nimbleness, and it's fun. It is so fun blasting past the traffic on this bike. Nice blip as well, so hopefully people can hear you. Narrow, so you can get in the tightest of spaces. It's just fun. It's fun to do this sort of work with the Hunter. It kind of feels like they had that in mind when they built this bike. But they wanted a bike which was nippy and a good city commuter. It's brilliant, very well done. Right, I'm going to take it out onto the motorway now. Wind it on. Okay, so we're coming up to 65 miles an hour. How's it feel? Now obviously it's got no screen, so I'm getting all the wind blast. And there is a lot of it. It's not turbulent, but you certainly know that you're out in the open. Feel that straight away. The bike itself is really stable, no wobbliness or anything like that. Typical 350 frames, so it does tend to hold in very well. Touching 70 miles an hour now, which is what the bike's restricted at anyway. So on a summer's day, fantastic. In the winter, obviously not so much, purely because you are open to the element. So as long as you stay in lane 1 or lane 2, you will be overtaking the lorries, and you'll be absolutely fine. So yeah, it does alright, all things considered. But I would say that I personally would rather take the back roads and go the long way round. So yeah, anyway, the Hunter will do it, but it's not a bike which I particularly enjoy riding on the motorway. A friend of mine, Dave, he's got a Hunter and he went all the way up to Wales on his, 350 miles in a day, and he absolutely adores this bike, and he said it done really well. So, you know, a 350 will do it. Look, I'm overtaking a car now, look. All these guys that are doing the speed limit on cruise control, and I'm still doing on the speed limit, still overtaking. Walking around the bike. Let's sit on it first. Get your leg over. 5'8", 30-inch inside leg measurement, feet to the floor. Everything's right here. It's got a real fun feel about the bike as well, that looks and feels really nice when you're sat here. Feet position on the pegs, nice angle there. If you're a taller person, you might get away with it, you know. Although it's a smallish looking bike, I think even if you're a tall person, then I think you'll probably be okay on this, because we've got so much knee space there, so that's all good. Shorter riders, it's going to fill you with confidence. It's a very light bike. Even banking it over like this, it doesn't feel heavy at all. It's 10 kilograms lighter than the Meteor, and it's certainly noticed that when you're stood still, or whether you're pushing it around, or when you're riding it. It's a very, very light bike to manage. Now let's talk a little bit about pillion riding. Now I have had my 3 sons on the back here. Felt a little bit cramped. I think it's all right for short hops. Would you want to do a whole day on it? You know, that's down to personal preference, isn't it? I wouldn't. I felt like I was sort of hunched up against the bars when I had somebody on the back there. And that's with my 3 sons. The eldest is 16, so that says a lot in itself. Suspension, and the way that it handled with a pillion, was really quite good. It's quite surprising, actually. It's very manageable, very stable, and we still had plenty of power there as well, which counts for a lot. So pillion riding, it's probably a 5 out of 10, I would say, to be fair. Still had the power as well, which does count for a lot. Nimbleness of the bike, this is a city buster. You know, if you want a bike which you want to do a lot of filtering with and get from A to B, from one part of the city to the other, even for courier riders, I'd say that this would be a fantastic option. It's very, very comfortable. This seat is punching way above its weight for a bike that's under £4,000. And also it's nippy, you know, you feel like you're making progress, it goes well. It's a really enjoyable bike, it's cheap to buy. So many good things about this bike. Gear changes, it's very slick as well, it's straight into gear every time. Going around the city on this bike, you can't help but smile. It's one of those bikes which you know, it sounds good, it feels good, it manoeuvres really well. It's just a really, really fun bike to own. I highly recommend you try one of these. I think this could fill a spot which a lot of people are looking for. So whether you're a new returning rider or somebody with a big bike who wants to get around the city but doesn't want a 125 but wants something with more power and something that's a little bit more fun, this is it. This is that perfect second bike for people. It's going to be easy to keep clean. It's a very practical bike for all year riding because it's all powder coated nicely. Incredibly good handling this bike is as well. Probably down to the rake on the front wheels there as well, which helps. It's got the gaiters on the front, which is very suited to this style bike. Decent grab handles on the back as well to manoeuvre it around, or for a pillion. It's a brilliant everyday bike, a commuter. It would be absolute perfection, you know, for going to work and then just having a quick spin on the weekends with your friends. So overall, yeah, the Royal Enfield Hunter 350, another fantastic bike. I mean, it was going to be being Royal Enfield. I am a Royal Enfield fan, as you can tell now, and for good reason. They build very, very good bikes at a very, very good price. That's an approachable, affordable price. More importantly, in this day and age, is exactly what we need. So let's talk about why you may not want to buy the Royal Enfield Hunter 350. There's only a few reasons. First of all, might be down to your height. You might be a bit too tall. It might feel a little bit small for you. Not in the leg department so much, but just when you're sat on it, because it is a bike that you sit on as opposed to in, it might feel a little bit small for you. But the actual stance, you can, you know, move around a bit on the seat. You've got plenty of leg room here, and the bars are in a very good place, even for a taller person. The other reason you may not want to buy one is possibly because it is a small looking bike. Now that has its advantages, obviously, when you're packing the bike away in the garage, certainly in between bikes, then
yeah, it's going to be nice and easy to get in the garage if you're quite tight on space. That being said, some people like a bigger looking bike. You know, this is kind of a, I don't want to put it down by saying it's a 125 in size, but it is quite a small looking bike, so that is going to be a bonus for many people, and not so much for other people who want a 350, which does look substantial, much like the Meteor 350. That is a substantial looking 350, and to a level as well, the classic 350s, they look quite big bikes as well. So pros and cons with that, but that's the only reason I can think of why you may not want to buy a Royal Enfield Hunter 350. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Can you give it a good like? It'd be really cool. Thanks to Royal Enfield. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video and my review of the Royal Enfield Hunter 350. I'll see you next week on another video, whatever that may be. It might be a review, it might be bloopers, it could be anything. But thanks very much for watching. See you next time.